Morning anchor Kirstin O'Connor here. We are preparing you for hurricane season ahead of the big day. Tomorrow is June 1st. And right now we have Dr. Rachel Prete, a pediatrician with Orlando Health, here to answer questions that parents have about preparing their kids. We talk a lot about hurricane preparedness kits. Yes. And so what are some of the things that you would recommend parents put in those kits specifically for their kids?
So most importantly is going to be having their medication. If their child's on a medication, your pharmacy may not be open for a few weeks if there's a power issue or something like that. So making sure that they have several weeks of their child's medication. Also, if your child requires something that's electric, like a breathing machine, you want to make sure you have a battery pack that you can plug into to use that machine when your power is out. So right. Most importantly, those things.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people think about their cell phones first. Yeah. So they think about the cell phone charger, but that's even more important, obviously, in a medical emergency.
Right. Exactly, has everything they need.
And is that something that you have seen before after hurricanes, parents coming and saying, hey, I really didn't know that I needed certain items during this type of a storm?
Sure. Well, hindsight's always 20/20, right? So, I think parents think that their pharmacy will be open in a day or two, but unfortunately it isn't. And yes, you could probably always get it from another pharmacy, but other parents will be looking for those pharmacies as well during that time. So,
what about other things other than medication that just help keep kids comfortable during a storm? Their mental health is important too, right?
Right, absolutely. So we always want to talk about talking with your kids about the hurricane coming and what it is, and definitely on like the grade level. So if a little kid, your conversation is going to be different than a kid who's older. But talking about them about what they can expect to experience. So you may have some power outages. Maybe give your kid a little lantern, a battery pack lantern, or their own flashlight, and be having those conversations. Now, if you're noticing that your child is having a little bit of anxiety over this hurricane that's coming, you want to make sure you minimize the amount of media that they're exposed to, because if they're seeing a lot of people talking about what can happen in, on the news, right? So minimizing your child's exposure to that is going to be important.
Right. And we always think about that too, the little ears that are in the room.
Exactly.
That's important to think about. All right. What about children maybe preparing their own hurricane kits? Have you ever recommended that?
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. I mean, simple things like there are certain stuffed animals or blankets they have, or maybe putting that little lantern in there, maybe their favorite snacks, that kind of thing, comfort things to them that maybe kind of make it like a camp out experience. If it's going to be dark in your house, have a little air mattress that's already set up for them to kind of make it more comforting, more fun for them during that time.
And on a serious note, when something does happen and we need to be in a safe room or a safe environment, what's a good way to prepare a room for a child and maybe just make it a little bit more comfortable for them?
Yeah, and all those things we just talked about, having all their comfort items with them, having a safe place for them to sleep that's comfortable for them, and keeping their routines is going to be important also. That brings comfort to them. So if you read a bedtime story at night, have that bedtime book in there, but you'll have to do it with a flashlight, that kind of thing. But all those things will be comforting to them if you just keep their normal routine.
If your child has a serious medical condition that you're normally keeping track of, like you were talking about the medications to start, let's say diabetes, what's a good way to make sure that you're protecting your child and keeping all those medications safe? Would you recommend coolers or anything that, you might might need to buy right now while they're tax-free?
Right, yeah, right. So that's a very good point. So if if their medication does require refrigeration, you need to start thinking about that, getting some type of ice pack set up in the freezer that are long-lasting, investing in maybe a better cooler that can hold dry ice or things like that for longer periods of time. That's important.
Anything else that you think, I know you're a parent yourself, that you think about during hurricane season that relate to, just parenting and helpful tips?
Yeah, I think most importantly, just keeping your child safe. So, it may sound fun to go out and run in the wind and things like that, but obviously things can be blowing. So keeping your kids safe, keeping them inside, and letting them know what to anticipate, that the power most likely will go out, and that's okay, and we're prepared, and we're going to be fine. So just letting them know that everything's going to be fine, and reassurance.
I'm thinking too, as a technological age, kids are so used to having their iPads and their cell phones, and once the power goes out and maybe the battery chargers die, it could be a little bit difficult for them to get through.
That's a great point.
What are some of the things that you would put in your hurricane safety room, maybe some board games or something that could be a family experience.
No, absolutely. All those crafts, I feel like in my closet, I have a million crafts that we never ever get to that we've gotten over the years, right? So making sure, like, put those in there. Do the fun things that, you know what, you don't have any electronics, you're gonna have to use what you got. So make use of all that stuff in your closet.
Yeah. Maybe have a conversation.
Right. Oh, that too. Yeah, especially those teenagers, they get a captive audience because right now they're just plugged into their devices. So that would be a great time to have a great conversation with them.
All right. Well, Dr. Rachel Prete here with us from Orlando Health. We appreciate all of your advice as we head into hurricane season, and we will continue to update you here on clickorlando.com.